Eugene. Just tell me a bit about your type of cancer and when you were diagnosed. Just paint a picture for us about how the situation is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So last month, I celebrated 4 years of breast cancer survivorship. I was diagnosed in 2014, June. I was 48 years. And of course, it was a devastating experience, having lost my father the year before to prostate cancer. And then 2 years later, after my treatment, I lost my mother. She got liver cirrhosis and other complications. And even she was also my caregiver. So thank God Maureen has somebody.
Yeah.
So you can imagine you are 2 years in treatment, and then your caregiver also passes on. So it's been a big challenge. But I thank God that despite the fact that it's one of the very rare breast cancer types, I am still surviving, and I thank God for that.
You say
it's
doctors told you triple negative?
It's called triple negative breast cancer. Very rare, less than 10% of women in the world have it. And the reason why it's triple negative is that it's not hormone based. The 90% of breast cancers are hormone based, progesterone positive, or estrogen positive, or HER2 positive. And being triple negative means, because it's not hormone, so I cannot get any medicine to suppress that hormone. Yeah, so then I just have to do the chemo, surgery, radio, and then sit and wait on God.
So
and I've waited on God, I've held on to faith, and I thank God I'm still alive. But unfortunately, it is also quite very aggressive. It was also diagnosed at a very late stage, stage 3B. So that means after like 2 years, it came back, a tumor came back. So initially, I didn't remove the whole breast. We did lumpectomy at Aga Khan. Professor Hasike did a good job. And then after 2 years, the tumor recurred when I went to India for what's called a PET scan. And I hope our government will bring one at KNH. Aga Khan is trying to bring it. So when I did that PET scan, because it's able to detect the cancer cells when they're very small, another tumor was found at the 3 o'clock position. So then I had to do a mastectomy, which means removing the whole breast. So that's now, but unfortunately still, last 2 months ago, another tumor came up, further up. Yes, so I'm undergoing various tests, MRI, and they are quite expensive. In 2 months, I've spent more than 200,000. Still just on tests, so I haven't even thought about the next step of treatment, So, and of course, since that time, treatment going to India, to and fro, quite an amount, maybe over 3 million plus. Yes, it affects your lifestyle.
Yeah, you have to change a lot of things.
Many things.
And this being a unique type of cancer that is not very common, and you're saying the treatment so far has not been identified.
No.
Yeah. Okay, you'll tell us.
They have to suppress the growth of the cells.
Okay.
Because they grow abnormally very fast.
Okay. Your wife, Maureen, also has breast cancer. Probably you can also just paint a picture for us. What type of breast cancer is this?
Her breast cancer is hormonal based. It's HER2 positive. HER2 positive, just as Francis has said, it's a very aggressive form of cancer. It metastasizes very fast and it spreads very fast. Basically, we discovered it at an early stage.
Yeah.
That's the good thing that happened to us, I can say that, because it first appeared as a lesion at the nipple, a small lesion that appeared when she has just finished during lactating, when she was breastfeeding. So when the kid starts growing teeth, they kind of start biting their mother. So she had that lesion, and we thought it was just going to heal by itself.
Yeah.
And it kept on persisting. We tried to apply some ointments. It dries up kidogo again, and then it reoccurs. So one day I told her, this thing is disturbing us. Let's go to the hospital. A doctor gives us a strong or something good ointment, to dry it up. So when we went to the hospital, the doctor told us, now you see she has to go to surgery, to the theater. We were like, theater? How? Why?
For what?
For what?
Yeah.
They told us, we just have to get a biopsy so that we can exactly know what's going on.
Yeah.
Only a biopsy? Okay, sir. Let's go. So she went to the theater, took the biopsy. 2 weeks down the line, when the results came, we were told, you know what? It's not good news. It's a breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
It exhibited itself as Paget or Pagets.
Mm-hmm.
Paget is not really cancerous, but it's precancerous.
Okay.
So the doctor told us, you see, this is precancerous, and it's a sign of an underlying aggressive invasive cancer somewhere inside the breast. So they said they had to do more tests so that they can find that underlying invasive cancer. So we went for the CT scans, the way she had said, the MRIs, name them. And those things are not pretty to the pocket.
Yeah.
Just as she said.
Financially.
Financially, yeah.
Yeah.
So finally we got, she was found to have a very small tumor, just a few centimeters from the nipple, around, but by that time it was less than 5 centimeters, according to the MRI. So the doctor told us they had to do a lumpectomy or a mastectomy. But they told us the standard treatment for Paget is a mastectomy. So we had to absorb that first.
Which is, what did they tell you it is now? If you were to break it down.
At that time, they just told us it's just breast cancer. I mean, it's just Paget.
Yeah.
And Paget, it's precancerous.
Yes.
It's not really cancerous,
yes,
but it's precancerous. And we were trying to absorb all this because we know many people equate cancer to death.
Yes.
When you're told you have cancer, you just...
It's like a death sentence.
Death sentence, very right. So the next thing you're like, what do we do? Do we sit and assume nothing has been found?
Okay.
And pray?
All right. Bernard, I'll come back to you because I know there are those many questions you ask yourself at that moment. And last time we were having this conversation, Jane, if you can remember, there's also how this news is delivered at the hospital. There's also that challenge of how doctors are breaking it down for you, that a lot of cancer patients are actually having a problem with. And you'll tell us about that. But then let's also get to understand a bit more about yourself, Monica. Now you're cancer-free, and we thank God. But then it's been a journey.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about your type of cancer and when it was diagnosed.
Well, I had cancer of the esophagus, and it also spread to the stomach. It was diagnosed in 2012, January. But before then, I had had a series of a burning sensation for a long period, like 4 years. So what I used to do, I'll just rush to the nearby pharmacist and get some antibiotics. But then it got to a point where now feeding was a problem. So at that point, when I couldn't eat anything solid, that's when I decided to go for further medical checkups. And I went to Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital in January of 2012. They did a chest x-ray called barium swallow. That's when they detected that the esophagus was narrowing. So that explains why it was a problem to swallow.
Okay.
And they referred me for an endoscopy at Kenyatta. So it was the endoscopy test that diagnosed the narrowing of the esophagus. Now it confirmed that it was cancer. Well, at that time, there was a huge backlog at Kenyatta. So I couldn't get a slot for surgery immediately. And it was already a big tumor because it was already 35 centimeters. So the doctor was like, this thing has to be removed very fast. But we still had to wait for the results of the biopsy. So when the results of the biopsy came out, at least it was good news because the walls were well differentiated. So the doctor told us that if the walls are well differentiated, that means it's still an early tumor. But now the challenge waiting for 6 months to commence surgery.
Yeah.
And by this time, I was not even swallowing my own saliva. So we made a decision to move to the private facilities because we couldn't wait for that long queue at Kenyatta. And it is at that point that a palliative care nurse from the Thika District Hospice came and advised me to go to Kijabe Mission Hospital. So it is at Kijabe that I had surgery. I first had the first surgery to put a stent, an artificial tube to help me feed.
Okay.
Because
At
by
least so that
this
you can
time,
swallow.
yeah, because by this time nothing was passing through. I was very trim. I had shed a lot of weight, so I didn't have the muscle to go for the major surgery. So I fed with a stent for 3 months, mashed food, just liquids and mashed food, you know.
Yeah.
So that at least I get some strength and some supplements. I also used to take a lot of supplements. So after 3 months, the doctors were satisfied that I was strong enough to handle the major surgery because the surgery itself is called gastroesophagectomy. And again, it's a very deadly surgery, hardly done in Kenya. I'm one of the few people who have had it here in Kenya. So at least when I gained a bit of weight and also my blood count rose because by the time I was getting to Kijabe, everything was down. So that's when they were satisfied. And in May of 2012, I had gastroesophagectomy, a 9-hour surgery, which entailed the removal of 3/4 of my esophagus and a quarter of my stomach. Then,
So now that they reduced it, what happened?
Initially, the surgeons had said that they will take part of my colon to replace the part that will be removed during surgery because a large part of the esophagus was removed. But luckily, the lead surgeon is a very experienced gastrointestinal surgeon. So he decided that they pull the remaining stomach upwards. His reasoning was that we have already touched the esophagus and the stomach, so touching again the colon, and you know the colon helps with the passing stool. So they decided to stretch the stomach that remained upwards. So my stomach is above the sheet of muscle that separates the chest and the abdomen.
So it's basically
in the chest area.
Does that affect your feeding?
Yeah, it does. Immediately after eating, I have a condition known as dumping syndrome. My heartbeat becomes faster than usual because now the stomach is pressing the heart. So I have to remain in a seated position for like 10 to 20 minutes until the heartbeat normalizes. And then again, because of the digestive system now being shorter, again, my food is not being digested properly. Absorption, especially of proteins, because the upper part of the stomach, which they removed, is what absorbs vitamin B12. So I have to get vitamin B12 supplements in form of injection every month to supplement that. And also, I'm not allowed to fast from food because already I have a shorter digestive system and absorption is a challenge. So if I fast from food, if I stay for long without eating, late dumping syndrome will occur. This is because the food is taking a shorter time to be digested. So as this happens, it draws fluids from the surrounding tissues, causing a drop in the blood sugar levels. So I have to eat small, frequent meals.
All right.
Yeah.
I know this is information you didn't have before, but once you're in that journey, you just like become an expert in it. The way she's explaining it and breaking it down so naturally, you have to understand what is happening in your body. You have to understand how you need to take care of yourself. And I know there's a lot of adjustments all of you have had to make just to make sure that you're part of this journey and you're at least taking steps through it. But then let's get back to when it started, Jane Francis. The other time you told me something really unfortunate about how this news is broken at the hospital. Tell us a bit about it. Like, how is the situation like, and how do you even talk to a cancer patient who's just found out like they have cancer in a society where people know it's death sentence? Like cancer, this is it for me. Is it done in the right way? How was yours? How did you get your news?
In my case, I did a biopsy. First of all, the one who did the first test, just, you have to do the manual one first.
Yes.
Just said, I'm detecting something here, but I would suggest you do an FNA. So I didn't even know what's an FNA. I tried to ask her what's an FNA. She didn't tell me. But for her, I think she just wanted to spare me the fear. So she said, once you get the results, you come back to me and I'll explain. So anyway, so I went to look for where to do an FNA, which I did. I won't mention the hospital. But when the time came to pick the results, I called the doctor and I was told, you go and pick the results. I'm like, I thought I should come to him so that he gives me the result. So anyway, so I went to pick the results.
Yeah.
And of course, the one who gave the result, it was the receptionist in that particular hospital. And so I'm asking her, so what does it say? Okay, first of all, you are scared, definitely, because I was already told there is a big lump. So what does it say? But you see, I hadn't read
what is in there.
And also I don't
But
know
you just feel
what is
funny.
the cancer. Yeah, so what does it say? She said, you need to go to your doctor. But the result is already in my hand. And the same doctor told me, go and pick your results. So am I going to look for him? No. So I tried to read the document myself. And of course, I saw breast cancer stage 3. And I don't know what. So I went back to my car, tried again to read again and to understand.
You didn't go back to the
No, it
doctor's
wasn't
office?
even staged. No, I had a car, so I went to the car to read the report further before I could move. And after reading again, breast cancer, blah, blah, just that word, C word, was enough
Cancer,
to...
yeah.
Yeah.
You don't even need the details.
I remember very well, instead of putting the car at the reverse gear so that I can get out of the parking, I put D and drove into the plants. And then I just realized when I hit the pavement and stopped. It was a Friday, I remember very well, 1st July. I just switched off my phone. First of all, I was very worried to tell my mom. She had been accompanying me 2 times for the test. I didn't want, so I switched off the phone first. And I just sat there for like 20 minutes thinking cancer. I was a student, a PhD student in the university. I was lecturing. I was like, what does it mean? What does it, all those things.
So all this time, nobody has
but we had lost my father the year before, but it was a very short time frame. And actually, when he was diagnosed, he chose not to be treated in Nairobi. Without our knowledge, I think he had been told it's already advanced by the time he found it in December. Surgery was done in February 2013, and April 20th, he was gone. So you see, the time was so short, we didn't even have time to assimilate what it is. 2013, April. So 1 year down the line, I've just been told cancer. So the same word
is back again.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you see, now with my father, as I said, it was too short to assimilate all the things that come with
Cancer.
Yes. And then he also chose to have the treatment away from Nairobi. So I think he just wanted to spare, other than my mom, none of us knew. So actually, that's why my mom kept really following me so closely, because she knew a lot. So what I would want to say is that, in short, I had now to gather courage, go back to the same facility and ask, is there somebody who can interpret this for me? So I got a lab, somebody from the lab, and the doctor, thank God he came, and he said, no, I'm going to repeat it. So I don't know what he saw that it wasn't clear. I'm going to repeat that FNA. I said, what? And it's very painful. It's a very, they put a needle inside the tumor, not once, not twice, almost 7 times.
7 times?
Yes.
7 times.
They pull out some specimen. So you're going to repeat, yes.
Again,
why?
yeah.
Anyway, I had no choice now. So, but he was good, he explained. And then after he told me, you can even wait, I'll give you the results, because he's able to analyze. I think a radiologist. So he told me, wait for me 1 hour. And you can imagine the anxiety. So I waited, he said, what is happening? Right now, we need to remove this breast immediately. It is, I don't know what, it's very big, your tumor. What does it entail? You need to have 500,000, come for surgery, organize to come for surgery tomorrow or in the next few days, because it looks very advanced. So if you don't do that, it will go to your other parts of the
So
body.
you're still digesting cancer
I'm still there.
information.
It's in, I think it's
Then you're told again you're supposed to go for surgery, which
and
is
you need
another issue
500,000,
altogether.
you know.
Then you also need money, which is a
Yes.
lot,
And then you need
500,000. So all
500,000
this
immediately
information
for
is coming.
surgery, and then after
Yeah.
that you will need chemo, and you know,
Yeah.
within less than an hour you have been counted about 2-point-something million. So I asked him, okay, is there another alternative? Is there another hospital that I can go to? He said, well, I think the only hospital that does this thing is KNH, but you'll have to wait for a long time.
Yeah, there's a queue.
Okay, so I said, okay, let me go think about it, and I will go to KNH.
Okay.
I mean, I will come back to you.
Okay.
So I went. So, of course, I went to KNH after a few days, and of course, you know, I was told you have surgery after maybe like 3 months, and of course, they had to repeat that same thing in KNH. And then after that, they told me surgery is already, the queue is very long, to take 3 months, then you need chemotherapy after surgery, how long? Another maybe 6 or so months. You know, you have to be scheduled always, because there are so many people ahead of you.
Okay.
And then after that, radiotherapy, it was 2014. You can only do it in 2016.
All right. Jane Francis,
Yes.
sorry, I'll take you a bit fast,
Yes.
because I want us to
Yes.
touch as much as possible
Yes,
about
yes.
this. So I'll come back to you to tell
Yes.
us a bit about the treatment process.
Yeah.
But Bernard,
Yes.
as from the point of view of a caregiver, and I'm assuming both Jane and Monica went back home and told somebody. And in your case, once your wife, it was confirmed that she had that information came to you as the husband. As from the lenses of a caregiver, how do you absorb this information? How did it affect you as a family? What adjustments did you have to make? Because it's coming in and it's just like a bomb that has been dropped. How did you take it?
Wow.
I've taken you back
You've taken me back
to that moment.
to that moment.
Yeah.
Where you just have to sit and think you're staring at death. Yeah. It was very devastating, especially when my wife was told that she has breast cancer. She literally went blank, and she started crying, sobbing, and I was there with her because the doctor told us when I was with her.
Okay.
As much as I was also shocked, I had to be strong for my
You
wife.
had to step in and support. Yeah.
So, as in, it was very difficult, even going back home. Staring at the kids. I have 2 kids, by the way. So, I see the sister and the brother playing, and I look at them, and I try to imagine, do they really know
What's going on?
what is on our cup? This cup that has been given to us, do they really know? How will they take it? Will they accept it? And it was very difficult, very, very difficult.
At what point, now it's all about hope. It's all about inspiring somebody. And I know before you got to be this strong and brave, and I understand you also have a national network
Yes.
of not breast cancer, but general cancer
Yes,
survivors.
Yes.
Before you got to that point of
Yes.
strength and confidence, you had to allow it break you down. You had to go through that moment of accepting. So I'm trying to get, at what point did all of you get to that change of narrative? What happened that changed your mind and you started now becoming a warrior and not a victim? Should I start with Jane or should I start with Bernard? Because I know for you to be here today, there has to be something that happened and you said, we now have to start being warriors about this. I want us to talk about that so that we tell somebody who is watching that it is possible and you can be a warrior, you can be a survivor. Let me start with you, Jane. What happened that made you change your mind about cancer?
As I said, it was a turning point in my life.
Yes.
As I said, you have to think of so many things to change. So first of all, it was coming to terms with what is ahead of me.
Yes.
Am I going to accept it as a death sentence, or am I going to fight and live on? So I went to pray. I'm a Catholic, so there was the first Friday of the month, which for us, in fact, we just celebrated it last week, is dedicated to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And in that dedication, all I was telling Jesus, I love you and I want to live. That's what I said that whole Friday night. And during the, what we call adoration, overnight adoration, my parish priest said, don't worry, Jane, I will talk to Father so-and-so and he's going to anoint you. And after that, you can imagine it was 5 a.m. in the morning. The priest called me, anointed me, asked me which breast. I told him. He prayed for me for almost 15 minutes. And I'm saying it's after. So even by the time I went home, I was so strong. Even as I was telling my mom and later on my siblings that I'm going through, I told him, but don't worry. Jesus is in control. And I think it will be fine. And my mom was like, are you sure? Are you sure? You know. So I told her, Mom, don't worry, it's okay. So, and of course, being the firstborn in the family, and knowing what she was going through, having lost the husband a year earlier, I needed now to be strong. What am I saying? I think for me, the faith, my faith has been my stronghold.
Like a pillar, yeah.
And of course, prayers with my family, with the church, in my small Christian community, different groups, St. Jude and so forth. You know, we have patron saints. So I would encourage also the listeners, because all of us belong to one church or another, one religion or another, whatever it is, we know that God is our creator. He knows ourselves much more even than the doctors. So I think we should always go back to him and tell him, you created me and for a purpose. And until that purpose is removed, cancer is not going to remove me from this world. Okay. And that has been my driving force, despite the recurrences, despite the financial challenges, and so forth. And because I also want to encourage others to live, I tell them when I see me, when we meet them in the street, do I look like I have cancer? No.
No.
I am very strong.
And you're always full of life.
Yes, and I want to be like that. I enjoy my life. I just try to live as normally as possible. And then one other thing, when I finally started my treatment, luckily I was able to work around and get to go to Aga Khan with the little that I could start with. And together they also supported me. And because I got I had to do now further test. It's called biopsy, which I had to take to Aga Khan. And God, I think, had a reason. I did in KNH, but took the specimen to Aga Khan. So the person, the radiologist who now read, was quite different. So it's not every doctor that sometimes...
they treat you differently.
Yes, they treat you differently. And so I would encourage also doctors, just take time with the patient and also maybe counsel them before, give counseling. So when now my final results came out, because you have to do several, to stage the cancer, what type it is. First, you are just told it's breast cancer, but you do a further test, which I think even go out of the country, and that took, I think, almost another 1 month. So the one who now gave me, sat me with my mom. Do you understand what you have? No. Do you understand the meaning of stage 3? No. She said stage 3 means 1 stage before 4. That means in 2 or 3 weeks, the cancer will go to other parts of your body. So you need to start chemo immediately, not even surgery, chemo, because if surgery is done, it will spread very fast because it's aggressive. And so she explained in almost 1 to 2 hours. So I really always thank God for that doctor, because I think I'm alive. I always say because of her. The fear that I had earlier, when she explained everything and the stage and that there is very great hope, and that the type of cancer I have, even though it has no medicine, once I am positive and respond, the outcomes are usually very good.
Okay.
Yeah, so that has really helped me.
I'll come back to you.
Yes.
I don't know, for the both of you, what has been your strong pillar? What was that turning point for the both of you? You've been quiet for long, Monique.
Okay.
And you're even a cancer, it's also important to say you're a cancer model. Yeah? You've decided that I'm not going to use it as something against me. Let me use it as a voice of hope, of good. And you're speaking and even showcasing it through modeling, just speaking about cancer and raising awareness.
Yes.
That did not just happen overnight. Something must have happened to trigger that. What was that thing?
Okay, for me, you know, the news was broken to me just like that. I think, like Jane has said, doctors need to at least do a bit of counseling before breaking the news. Because when I did the endoscopy, And I did the endoscopy in full glare. I was not given any sedation. I was told we don't have anesthesia and there are many patients waiting. So you uvumilie uchungu ama uende. And by the way, there were so many patients and I was the third in the queue. So I was like, wacha tu nivumilie uchungu because I want to know what's happening. Then after the endoscopy is done, you know it's painful. The doctor is like, see ni cancer. But
casually, like
just
that.
like that.
See ni cancer.
Any cancer, like you need urgent surgery. Look for $500,000, you go to Aga Khan because here at Kenyatta,
$500,000 is not just something you just go pick.
You know, I was confused. And then he tells me, take this specimen to the private wing. Ukipeleka general wing, inaweza ikapotea, and unajua ikipotea, you'll have to repeat the procedure. So within a short time, he has told me so many things. I cannot even understand biopsy, what. But I thank God that this palliative care nurse from Thika District Hospice, this is the one who now, I always say that she was the one who made me now have a different perspective. Because when she was brought by our church catechist, I'm also a Catholic. So when news spread that I had cancer and I was a choir member and a Sunday school teacher, people came to pray, and then we asked them, if you have any information, if you have any doctors in the family, you can help us with information. So our church catechist came with this nurse. So it is this nurse who now made me have a different look, because she encouraged me and she told me I've handled cancer patients, you know, I'm a palliative care nurse, and she's even the one who told me, you know, Kenya does not have gastrointestinal specialists, so I would advise you go to Kijabe Mission Hospital, because I know there you might find some gastro. You know, I used to think if it's surgery, any surgeon can do.
You just go
anywhere. But when it comes to cancer, you see, there are specific surgeons for specific cancers. Like a gastrointestinal surgeon cannot operate cancers of the reproductive system. Yeah, so this nurse actually made me have a different look. And then our assistant parish priest, his name is Father William, he's now in Belgium for studies. When he came to anoint me, he encouraged me, you know, we come from the same home county, and already now news was flying all over the place. You know, Western Kenya, things like cancer, people will just say it's witchcraft. So some people were like, maybe kitu hata si ugonjwa, because I had just paid fees to go back to campus. So and then cancer strikes.
Somebody is jealous.
So people were like, kuna mtu amekufanyia kitu, kuna mtu ameona nyota yako inang'ara, you know. So Father William is Teso, I'm Luya. We come from the same county, Busia County. So when I shared with him this, he told me, okay, I understand, because these are things that happen uko, lakini akanambia, you focus on Jesus. Jesus will treat you. You go to the hospital. And then also the Kijabe fraternity. Hey, Dr. Kraus, my surgeon. These surgeons, they always used to say, we will give it our best shot. You know, I am the youngest patient they have handled for that cancer. So they will look at me and they'll tell me, Monica, we will give it our best shot. You will survive and you will come back even in this hospital to testify, of which it has now happened. So the Kijabe fraternity, my parish priest, and the palliative care nurse from Thika District Hospice. These are the three people. They
opened your eyes and you started now walking that journey with a bit of strength.
That journey. And then I got strength also from the story of Rose Nasimiu, which had just been on TV the previous year. So I was like, if this small girl handled cancer, what about me? And then also Professor Nyang Nyong'o. These are the two people I had who had come out in public to say that they had cancer.
You see, the power of coming out, the power of sharing.
So I was like,
there could be somebody somewhere suffering.
If Nyong'o and Rose Nasimiu, I would always, when I was going through treatment, because it was not easy, I would always say, kama Anyang' Nyong'o na Rose Nasimiu walimake, ata mimi nitamake.
Wow. And speaking of being young, you know, many people think cancer ni ya wazee. Cancer is, you know, how old were you when you were diagnosed?
When the diagnosis was done, I was 24, but I turned 25 in that same year. So that's why people were not, had not accepted that this is cancer.
How can it be cancer? You're
Because
so
we are-
young.
Hey,
That's
you're
what
so
people
young.
think.
I'm the third last born in the family. All my other siblings have never had cancer. My late dad did not succumb to cancer, so
Where
how
could
can
it
I
be
get
coming?
cancer?
Lazima ikuwe ni uchawi.
Lazima ikuwe ni uchawi, lazima ikuwe ni kitu ingine.
I'll come back to you. Tell us
Yeah.
how you're a cancer model and how you're using that platform to create awareness. But Bernard, also there are certain adjustments you've had to make as a family, and I know there's those questions of why us, why me. And as a young man, you've just married and you're starting your family, and then this happens. You ask yourself a lot of whys. When did these questions stop, and what made them stop?
These questions always, they always linger.
Yeah, they're still there.
At one
Kidogo,
point or
kidogo.
another.
Okay.
They just still just crop up kidogo. But I managed to overcome them, not through my strength, but you can also see we have a common basic denominator here, God.
Yeah, that's always the pillar.
God.
Yeah.
Sabu, that time I had just joined this Bible Study Fellowship, BSF, at St. Mark's. And after a month, that's now when my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. So our group leader, Martin, he really encouraged me. And that time we were going through the book of Romans. And the book of Romans, basically, Paul was talking about enduring suffering. We should endure suffering as Christians. We'll always face challenges in life. And we're not the first people. Even Jesus, he knew he was going to be crucified. And he went and cried to the mountain, to his Father God, can you take this cup? Why can't you take this cup of suffering?
And this cup is really, really heavy, this
Yes.
cup of cancer.
But he had to endure it. So once my wife was diagnosed with it, I asked so many questions,
Yes.
but finally I came and decided, God, you've given me this cup. Just give me the strength to partake from it.
Okay.
Now that I can't take it from my life, give me strength
there.
to partake from it.
Okay. And then now you started
And that's now
the journey.
where we started the journey.
Okay. What are some of the lifestyle changes that you've had to make or sacrifices you've had to make to cope? Whichever lines, financially, what's happening in your financial situations, your careers? You know, a lot of things have to change. Give us a picture of what has changed about your careers, your financial, your relationships, your family. What's happening, Jane?
Yeah, not easy. I had to first of all stop my PhD studies.
Yes.
I got a letter, my doctor recommended I get a letter, leave of absence.
Yes.
You know, they say, you've heard of the PhD is permanent head damage.
damage.
So anyway, he was just joking
Yes.
and said, there's no need for a third degree. You already have 2 degrees.
Yeah.
And you are masters and you are lecturing, you can still lecture after. So there's no need of a PhD with a heart that takes you to the grave. So first concentrate on your treatment, because also cancer thrives on stress. If you have stressful situations, whether in books, whether it's your family, whether it's what, you may not heal. So I continued lecturing a few hours, less hours, and of course, you know, less hours means money, less money, of course. Yeah. And actually, when it recurred again, I stopped and started, okay, I do small other businesses, just enough to make my ends meet.
Okay.
But I must say,
has it taken a toll on you financially?
Very much, very much, yes.
Like,
I had mortgage, I had car loan.
Yeah.
So you can imagine, sometimes it's difficult to service this. And but I'm grateful that I am alive, that through the support of my family, friends, if you have classmates, they say, don't break, you know, just keep up this link. Sometimes it's even somebody I have never had for 30 years hears I have cancer, and you hear somebody say, oh, please, I got your contact and so forth. I had this and this, you know. So I'm very grateful for my friends, for family, for some who have supported me along this journey. I am also thankful to those who have supported me in my little businesses, which are able still to keep me going. And I'm hoping that I am able still to go back to school maybe next year once I'm through with this phase, finish my studies and not really go back to lecturing in class. I want to continue now what I'm doing right now, advocating for cancer, because I think this is a challenge in our society today. It is so rampant. And I think we need also to help our government to trickle down the necessary support, especially through NHIF, because they are paying for us, yes, and we are grateful before they want. I think last year was the first time I got something through my NHIF. But since then, I can say it has supported me so much, because insurances, once you have a condition, they are really something, and I think they also need to change, because nobody chooses to get an illness. So I think they also need to restructure their way of paying for patients. So towards that end, we have formed what is the Cancer Survivors Association of Kenya. We started as a small group in Aga Khan. Our the founder passed on to cancer, God rest her in peace, Mary Omuga. And I remember after my first chemo, my doctors told me, you go and join the Aga Khan support group. You'll and really, I can say that support group helped me so much. When you listen to others who come with different types of cancer, I've gone through this, I've survived, so it really gave me a lot of encouragement. So from that Aga Khan group, we came to town and formed a larger group. We have members from Kakamega, Mombasa, and we hope that, especially through the first ladies, ours in Nairobi and also in the counties, they can be able to help this group grow in the counties, because then together we can be able to support each other in various ways.
Yeah, because I'm imagining cancer patients uko mashinani.
Yes.
You know, they may not even have the facilities, the information, the exposure. So most of them would even lose their lives.
But through the support group, now they meet together with some of us. We even go out. We go out to Kiambu, Githunguri. I travel very far, even just on my own. Sometimes we get these prostheses and breast and the hand gloves from donors, and even sometimes from the government. And we even take to those who are not able to reach Nairobi there. But you see, if the survivorship groups are formed there, then it is possible for maybe some proper network to be done, even to post them there. We don't even have to go physically.
Okay. Still on the issue of awareness, tell us about how you're using modeling to raise the level of awareness. I've seen very nice photos of you, by the way, on stage. Hi to Konayo, everything is okay, unatosha. But then tell us how you're using your experience and your situation to, in a positive way, to raise awareness about cancer. How does it work? And
Okay, let me start with how it all came now.
All right.
You know, after going through the treatment, in the process of going through the treatment and even after, I realized that there was a gap in cancer awareness. I will go to the hospital and I will see people who are learned, but when it comes to cancer, they are completely blank. And I was pursuing a business management course and accounting. I wanted to follow the footsteps of my late dad, who was an accountant. But then I realized, I made a promise to God when I was in intensive care unit. I spent a whole month in hospital after surgery. So when I was in intensive care unit and I used to see people die, you know, the trolley from the morgue coming to carry dead bodies, I made a promise to God that if he gives me a second chance, I'll do something to make people understand that cancer is not a death sentence. So modeling, when I was young, I'm always among the tallest, even in class, and then I'm in a family of tall people. When you see my brothers and my cousins, they are all basketball players.
Yes, wow.
So this was, you know, many girls when they are young, you know, you catwalk, you show yourself in the mirror.
So there was that desire.
So as I continued, even when I was in high school, I remember my classmates will tell me, Monica, have you ever tried modeling? But you know, I also come from a staunch Catholic family. So my mom will not take it. You know, we used to hear that models are like high-profile prostitutes. So I was like, if I go for this thing with the kind of mother that I have, I don't think this will be possible. But now, after going through cancer treatment, I now have a trim body. I used to be bigger than this.
Oh, okay.
Because part of the stomach was removed. I can't have a lot of weight.
Yeah.
So I remained with this model-like body after treatment. And I decided, because people always have this misconception that when you have cancer, because of the effect of the treatment, you will change a lot. So I said, we can still look beautiful even when you have gone through cancer. You know,
that, yeah.
When I was going through chemo, my appearance changed. You know, the nails turned black, the tongue is black, the hair falls off. But then, does it mean that I cannot look beautiful? So I decided, when I first participated in a modeling event organized by Faraja. Faraja Cancer Support Trust is the organization that paid for my chemotherapy and radiotherapy. So I was like, actually I can do this. And now I will not do this to be crowned Miss Kenya, but I'll do this now to create cancer awareness. So awesome. Now I became a cancer awareness model.
Wow.
Yeah, to show the world that I have gone through cancer treatment, 9 surgeries, 5 years of rigorous medical treatments. But before, if you didn't hear my story, you will not even say that I've gone through all that.
Exactly. We're coming back after this break just to get a final conclusion to this conversation. I'm really inspired right now, and you guys have no idea what you've done to people this morning, just speaking hope to somebody who could be facing even not just cancer, but a challenge in life. We are coming back. We're taking a very short commercial break. The show continues. Stay with us.